Think you know the Civil War? Think again. What if I told you Lincoln once planned to deport freed slaves? Or that the Union flew spy balloons decades before the first airplane? Children, some just 10 years old, fought and died on the battlefield. And yes, some Native American tribes sided with the Confederacy. The Emancipation Proclamation, it didn't free everyone. And a Confederate submarine sank, killing its own crew. This isn't just forgotten history, it's the side of the Civil War no one ever told you. The Civil War tore a nation apart. Brother against brother, North against South. Over 600,000 people died in a war that reshaped America forever. But beneath the battlefield smoke lies a story rarely told. Hidden in dusty letters and faded photographs are truths we've overlooked. Forgotten voices, misremembered heroes, distorted facts. This is the untold story of America's bloodiest conflict. Let's begin with a fact that defied gravity, literally. Long before planes ruled the skies, the Union took to the air. Using hot air balloons, they created the daring Balloon Corps. From high above enemy lines, balloonists reported Confederate positions in real time. These silent scouts helped shift the momentum of key battles. Floating observers sketched maps and directed artillery with shocking accuracy. Also, planes, it gave the North a massive strategic edge, one the South couldn't ignore. Confederates fired at the skies, desperate to stop these flying eyes. But the balloons kept rising, pushing the limits of wartime innovation. Many were eventually shot down, but not before rewriting battlefield tactics. Now let's turn from the skies to the smallest soldiers on the ground. Thousands of children, some barely out of school, joined the Civil War. They weren't just drummer boys. Many carried rifles, ran messages, or gathered intel. Some lied about their age, chasing dreams of heroism and adventure. Others worked behind the lines, buglers, cooks, medics. Every child mattered. One boy wrote home, "Don't worry, Mama, I'll be home by Christmas." But for many, that promise was never kept. Some died, nameless in muddy fields, never given the honors they deserved. Yet their images survive. Faces of innocence caught in the chaos of war. Those who survived bore the trauma into adulthood, forever marked by what they'd seen. These young fighters weren't footnotes. They were frontline witnesses to history. Few realized that Native Americans fought in the Civil War, on both the Union and Confederate sides. The Cherokee Nation, seeking to protect its sovereignty, aligned largely with the Confederacy. Cherokee warriors blended traditional ways with military tactics, fighting fiercely alongside Confederate troops. Their horseback archery and deep knowledge of the land made them feared and respected in battle. Yet not all tribes stood together. Loyalties were divided, splitting communities between North and South. Many Native Americans chose to fight for the Union, hoping the war would bring freedom and civil rights. But promises were broken, treaties shattered, lands taken, regardless of which side they fought on. Among them, Stanwadi rose to prominence, the only Native American Confederate general, fighting until the war's final days. After the war, Native veterans faced deep discrimination, yet carried pride in their service. Today, their legacy endures in monuments, in books, and in the stories passed down through generations. As Native warriors made history on the battlefield, another group was fighting a different kind of war. In secret, thousands of women disguised themselves as men, cutting their hair and adopting new identities to enlist undetected. They fought bravely in the trenches and on the front lines, shoulder to shoulder with their male comrades. Each day brought risk. Discovery could mean punishment, shame, or worse. Yet women like Sarah Emma Edmonds defied the odds, serving as a Union spy and nurse under the name Franklin Thompson. These hidden soldiers participated in nearly every major battle, proving that courage knows no gender. Despite brutal conditions, they pushed forward, fueled by duty, love, and belief in the cause. Some forged powerful bonds of friendship, shielding one another from suspicion and sharing in the burden of war. When their true identities were revealed, they shocked the nation and challenged society's expectations of women. Today, their heroism stands as a symbol of bravery, resilience, and the power of conviction in the face of injustice. Before he became the great emancipator, Lincoln had a different plan for Black Americans. He envisioned colonizing freed slaves in Central America. The U.S. government even arranged ships to carry them overseas. Lincoln personally met with black leaders, urging them to consider voluntary resettlement, but they refused, calling the plan unjust and inhumane. At that time, Lincoln feared true freedom might require exile. Colonization was no fringe idea. It was publicly debated in Congress. But war has a way of changing men, even presidents. Lincoln's views began to evolve as the conflict deepened. And then came the turning point, the bloodiest single day in American history. The Battle of Antietam, September 17, 1862. Over 22,000 soldiers were killed, wounded, or missing on just one day. At Bloody Lane, the earth was soaked red with the fallen. Union forces fought tooth and nail to cross Burnside Bridge under relentless fire. Makeshift field hospitals overflowed, anesthesia scarce, supplies nearly gone. Even President Lincoln visited the battlefield, deeply shaken by the human cost. For the first time, photographers captured war before the bodies were buried. The haunting images shocked the public, stripping away any romantic notions of battle. As night fell, mass graves were dug. There was no time for ceremony. Yet Antietam gave Lincoln something else, the momentum to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. Many believe it instantly freed every enslaved person, but the truth was more complex. Issued January 1st, 1863, it freed only those in Confederate-held territories. Slavery remained untouched in border states in some areas of the South. Still, it offered hope. Runaway slaves now had legal protection. It also allowed black men to enlist in the Union Army, forever changing the war's dynamic. Abolitionists like Frederick Douglass urged Lincoln to go further. Yet real freedom would not reach many until Union troops arrived. Final abolition came in December 1865 with the ratification of the 13th Amendment. The Emancipation Proclamation was a bold step, but not the final one. Its legacy reminds us that freedom is rarely given, it's fought for. But freedom brought friction. In July 1863, the Union's draft law lit a fire in New York. The draft riots exploded, working-class citizens protesting conscription. Their anger turned on black communities in a horrifying wave of violence. Over 4 days, mobs clashed with police and soldiers. More than 100 were killed. It was the bloodiest civil disturbance in American history. Lincoln, fighting a war on two fronts, was forced to act. Battle-weary troops were rushed from the front lines to restore order. Whole neighborhoods burned, black homes and businesses were destroyed. Though peace returned, the riots exposed deep racial divides in the North. It was a brutal reminder. The war wasn't just fought on battlefields. Meanwhile, beneath the waves, a secret weapon stirred. The Confederacy built the H.L. Hunley, the world's first combat submarine. Cramped, dark, and deadly, the vessel was a metal coffin with no escape. In 1863, it sank during testing, killing all 8 aboard. But they tried again. In 1864, the Hunley sank the Union's USS Housatonic, history's first underwater kill. But it never resurfaced. The entire crew died in their triumph. Their mission vanished with them. Until 1995. That year, the Hunley was discovered, crew still inside. It remains a haunting symbol of courage, invention, and sacrifice. At the start, many believed the war would be brief. But early clashes like Bull Run and Shiloh shattered that illusion. The war dragged on, 4 years of grinding, brutal attrition. Union leadership evolved as generals like Ulysses S. Grant pursued total war. Sieges like Vicksburg in 1863 bled the South dry. Civilians suffered. Hunger, destruction, and despair became daily life. Finally, in April 1865, Lee surrendered to Grant at Appomattox. The war was over, but its wounds would take generations to heal. Reconstruction began, a difficult road toward rebuilding injustice. The war's legacy endures, a fractured nation bound by shared sacrifice. Here's the twist most people overlook. Faith, fear, and brotherhood held the Union and Confederate ranks together. Thousands of letters were written, most now lost to time. Medicine, primitive. 3 out of 4 amputations failed. Yet from pain came innovation. The prosthetics industry was born. Women kept soldiers fed, clothed, and sometimes even disguised themselves to fight. Children followed the war in newspapers. Some later joined the front lines. Espionage turned housemaids into spies. Secrets swayed entire battles. In rare moments, enemies shared coffee during ceasefires. The Union blockade starved the South. Desperation bred lawlessness. Hunger broke down society from the inside out. Telegraphs connected commanders in real time, revolutionizing warfare. Their poles still stand in places, forgotten by time. Every battle left families broken, empty chairs that never filled again. Yet music echoed in camps, lifting hearts in despair. And where cameras failed, artists captured the emotion of war. Churches became hospitals. Faith became refuge. Even in chaos, satire thrived. Soldiers joked through tears. Many marched barefoot, starving and cold, yet unyielding. Every dawn held hope and dread. He didn't start out as a hero, but history carved him into one. Those children we met, some became leaders, others faded into silence. The Hunley crew was found in 1995, peace at last in a watery tomb. Today we honor the women who fought hidden, unrecognized, for over a century. The ripple of that war stretched into the civil rights movement and beyond. In war, some truths die with the dead, but others we're still uncovering. 10 truths, 10 secrets, one forgotten war. These weren't just names in a book, they were people just like us. Why don't we teach this part of history? Maybe it's what we choose to forget. So what surprised you the most? Share in the comments. More hidden history is just a click away.